Welcome to the DFS Build MLB edition. I am Kevin Roberts, joined with Taylor Smith, getting ready to go over the DraftKings main slate. Our goal is to help you win money. If we do that in any way in this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you get alerted to more videos just like this. We just went through our 2-game slate NBA DFS breakdown. You can catch that at the end of this video or just check out the video at our YouTube page. Also, if you want finalized core plays for NBA, picks and stacks for MLB, and anything else we cover, hit up our Patreon link at the bottom of this video. You get access to our Discord and all of our plays for the sports that we cover. Just $5.99 a month, so be sure to take advantage of that. And just in general, when you get in that Discord, we have a lively community of people who just want to help each other win. So please consider doing so. All right, let's get to it. We go game by game, looking at the top pitchers and our favorite stacks. First game, Rays and Red Sox. I almost said Celtics because Boston in Tampa Bay. This is not the old Tampa Bay park that we were accustomed to. This is clearly a hitter's park. The Rays went ballistic yesterday, and certainly liable to do that again, considering the park. We have Walker Buehler taking on the Rays, and on the other side, we have Ryan Pepiot taking on Boston. I swear to God, Boston looks good every single day, and they continue to shit on everybody when we do fire them up. In theory, the Boston Red Sox are a very good-looking stack here. I do tend to lean the Pepiot side here. So far this year, he's showing a really nice strikeout rate against lefties. Same was the case last year, too, 27%. Certainly, he can be had from the left side of the plate, and they have a lot of good lefties to throw at him with a 192 collective ISO. But I do lean to him. And then on the other side, you got the Rays, who went nuts yesterday, and the park thing we have to factor, but I don't want to play Walker Buehler because his form has not been good over the past year, but I also don't really want to bank on the Rays nuking for the second day in a row. Where are you at on this game?
Yeah, it's a little worrisome because it is a good park for power, especially lefty power, and Buehler's not really his old self. I assume he's just not that guy anymore, but he did look good in this last start and can turn it around. I'm just not really on the Rays, and I'm not really on Buehler. I think Pepiot is the best thing in this game. 7,400 on DK is just really cheap for who he is. Great matchup against Boston, but he has a pretty neutral split, so he can, in theory, neutralize their lefties. Boston strikes out at a pretty healthy clip as well, so there's certainly risk given the park, but I like Pepiot a good amount. 74 says too cheap. Boston's okay for leverage. Pepiot's going to get some steam from an ownership standpoint, so stacking up Boston is totally fine. Like I said, this park plays up lefty power, and they have a lot of lefties, so that's okay. But beyond that, I'm not really on the Rays, and I'm fully prepared for it to haunt me again.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the park itself just tells us we can play both sides for sure. I think Pepiot, there's not an opportunity for massive leverage with Boston, but no doubt about it. Like we've been saying many, many times this year, Boston looks great here. They do. I just think Pepiot is probably going to handle them. I like the strikeout rate. And like you said, they do have strikeouts in that lineup. So I lean Pepiot, but if you're going to play Pepiot, a good amount, if you're going to be way over the field on Pepiot, definitely get some Boston stacks out there because they certainly have the numbers to take advantage of it. If you want to play the Rays again, you can. I don't really love attacking a team the day after they score 10 plus runs. Pretty likely they're not going to do that again. It's just the way baseball works for the most part. You never know though. Yankees are hosting the Royals. Just naturally Casey gets a nice park upgrade here, a really nice one. But the problem is they're facing Max Fried. Is very much favoring Fried. The strikeout rate is ballooned here by Drew Waters. So don't really pay attention to that. In general, the Royals do not strike out, and they do have a little bit of pop, and they get a massive park upgrade. So the matchup favors Fried, but only ever so slightly. So if Fried's going to carry a lot of ownership, I'm not really that into him. It's a hitter's park. This is not a bad offense. The numbers don't really favor him so greatly. On the other side, Michael Wacha is pretty good at surviving, but he's aging. He gives up contact, and this is not the park to do those things. So the Yankees have the ability to absolutely clobber him here. Yankees look really good. I think overall it's Yankees or bust for me, but I don't mind if Fried is owned to try to get some leverage with KC stacks.
Yeah, I'll be on Fried a little bit. It's just another slate with a lot of cheaper pitching that looks pretty comparable. So Fried at 9,500 is a bit Rich. He's also not the best strikeout pitcher. He spiked a big game, I think, last time out against the Pirates, but that was a way softer matchup for him. This is a difficult spot. I'm still on Fried to an extent because he does have a ceiling, should have a pretty long leash no matter what happens, so I'm okay with that. I might have him around 20% in a multi-entry build, which I think is fine. Kansas City as a leverage stack is also pretty good. Like Witt, India, Perez, that mini stack looks good to me against Fried. It's a better park for lefty power, so those guys aren't in an ideal matchup necessarily, but I think they're okay for leverage. Not really on the Yankees a ton. Like I think Judge is always fine. Ben Rice at the top of the order is still pretty cheap from the left side, but Walker's not a gas can. The Yankees are probably going to be somewhat owned like they tend to be. Just think there are better spots on this slate. So they're going to hit 4 home runs every night again, probably, but I'll probably be under on them again.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so moving on here to the Orioles game. We have Orioles hosting the Guardians. Logan Allen taking on the Orioles. Godspeed, Logan Allen. Nothing looks good here for Logan Allen. I'm very much on the O side. They project extremely well, 216 collective ISO. They have some strikeouts in there, so I don't think that really matters though, because Logan Allen does not really miss bats. Anyways, Orioles look great. You don't need much of a sales pitch beyond that. I don't really like the Guardians, but I also don't really trust Charlie Morton. You made a good note in Discord how like his ERA is bad, but all the other numbers kind of point to positive regression. Thing is, he's a graybeard. He's an old dude. He hasn't looked great this year. Guardians are not like an elite offense, but they are a capable offense. So I think there's enough here in this park for the Guardians to get after him. The biggest thing, though, is nothing to do with the Guardians, really not even that much to do with Charlie Morton, though. He's cheap, very good projection. So in theory, he looks great. But I think there's enough there, plus the ownership, to get me to be very hesitant. So I think the Orioles look awesome. I'll fire up the Orioles at will. I'll play Charlie Morton just because he projects well, but I'll definitely attack him with the Guardians just for leverage.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk with Morton. Obviously, like you said, he's old. He's been bad so far, but the strikeouts have been there. This season, he has a 26% K rate so far, so that part of his game is still strong-ish, and that's really the name of the game when it comes to DFS pitching. 6,500. Cleveland, not a very powerful lineup. Pretty mediocre ISO 144 against righties over the last couple of years. They do have some very high strikeout bats as well. Nolan Jones, Gabriel Arias, Bo Naylor, all over 30% over the last 2 years. Manzardo pushing 30. So I'm just going to eat the Morton chalk. I just think, like, for the price, you're getting a lot. We saw him spike in the strikeout game against Boston, even though he kind of got shelled at the same time. And he's due for regression. Like, the underlying numbers don't lie. A 4 Sierra is not amazing, but it's a lot better than an ERA that's pushing 9. So I think there's room for upside. There's room for improvement as far as he goes. And for the dollar, he's quite clearly the best pitching option on the slate. So I'll have him a ton. It is what it is. I think Ramirez is a really good one-off against him. Not really inclined to stack Cleveland otherwise. And Baltimore chalk, I'll be under on. It is a good spot against Logan Allen, but this park is not really good for right-handed power, even though they moved the fence in and left field a little bit this season. O'Neill, Henderson, Westberg, guys like that are all okay, but if this team is chalky, I will just do something else as far as bats go.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting, by the way, that
Cleveland also has an elite bullpen behind him, for what it's worth.
Yeah, for the Cleveland Bats side, they're facing the guy who has so far this year 17% walk rate against lefties, and last year wasn't that much better overall, 12%, giving up power to both sides of the plate too. So they could possibly throw 8 left-handed hitters against him today. We're just going to this is fork in the road time. I note the value with Charlie Morton. I'm not buying the chalk on Charlie Morton today. You don't have
Morton's
to stack
strikeout
Guardians.
rate last year was also like 8% higher against lefties compared to righties. So facing lefties is not necessarily a bad thing for him.
Not necessarily. But if he's going to be that owned, worth noting, though, right now the ownership's kind of split across all the pitching, which just kind of tells you where we are on this slate when it comes to pitching. But if he's going to be like one of the highest owned pitchers, I have no problem going away from that, even though I note the value. All right, Braves and Jays in Toronto. Spencer Schwellenbach is way too expensive at 10.5K. He could always get there. He had 40 fantasy points 2 games ago, but I'm not paying 10.5K for him. Kevin Gausman. I always like to play Kevin Gausman, especially if he's not going to be super owned. Don't really want to play him against the Braves. They do have some strikeouts, though, so if you get to him, I don't mind it. The Braves are popping. They have a good implied run total. Doesn't really seem like the spot I want to attack a pitcher with the Braves, though. So I'm kind of out overall on this game. Like, if you want to pay for Spencer, you can. And if you want to play Gausman, you can. I'm just not really in on this game.
I'm pretty much all over the Atlanta Bats again on this slate, just like yesterday. Gausman is potentially still good. Had a good start in his last outing, but for the season, he's kind of underwhelming. Last season, he was kind of underwhelming relative to his track record. His strikeout rate against lefties this season is 17%. His overall strikeout rate's about 20%. And Atlanta is just a good offense, getting a park boost going into Toronto. Gausman historically has a reverse split from the right side. So guys like Riley and Olsen, and Murphy and De La Cruz look pretty good. Still fine. Like I said, the strikeout rate has dried up against lefties. So Olsen, Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, still perfectly fine. Kelnick, super cheap, lower in the order. So I am getting a ton of Atlanta. It doesn't feel like the most comfortable thing, but Gausman, I think at this point it's safe to say he's not what he used to be. So I'm fine with that, especially if they are going to be low-ish owned. I'm not sure if they will be. Getting around 10% of Gausman as well. Like, there's still potential there if he can rediscover his old form. He's just a little expensive at 8.5, so not a guy I'm really prioritizing, but I think he's playable.
Yeah, I'm not racing to play Kev, my namesake, but I just don't think it's, for me, the spot to stack up the Braves. Like, Kevin, he's had really tough matchups all 3 games, and he's performed pretty well across the board. So, yeah, I don't know. I think he's playable, but I'm not really going after this game that much personally. All right, Athletics and White Sox. Jeffrey Springs taking out Chicago. Really like Jeffrey Springs here. The White Sox have no power to throw at him. They do strike out. He does have a solid strikeout rate when he's not facing lefties this year, apparently. But it's the White Sox. He looks good at 8.2. Don't have any issue getting to him whatsoever. Sean Burke, no interest there. Love the Athletics. I usually like to play them against Southpaws, but that's okay. They still have a collective 161 ISO. They don't strike out that much. So certainly not interested in him, and I do not mind the A's here whatsoever.
Yeah, I like the A's a good amount. It's a good power park. Maybe not as good as their home park these days, but it is still one of the better ones in the league. So Burke has no strikeout ability. He does have moderate ground ball stuff. So the Oakland hitters who hit the ball in the air, Butler, Rooker, Langoliers, and Blade look pretty good.
So like
to me.
all of them?
I'm just naming the top ones there who have high fly ball rates. Soderstrom hits the ball on the ground a little bit, but still good in the stack. I think getting to some White Sox is okay. Jeffrey Springs, kind of a wide split left-hander. He's not a bad pitcher by any means, but if he's going to be owned, I don't mind getting to some like Andrew Vaughn, Luis Robert. Lennon Sosa is cheap, potentially hitting third. Not really on the pitching on either side. Like, Burke is cheap, but he's bad. Springs is 8,200. Don't love it. Just rather go elsewhere on this slate. So this one's kind of an offensive game for me.
Yeah, a couple things worth noting. First of all, I don't think there's like one key leverage point to feel amazing about on this slate. Like I said, the ownership and pitching is kind of divided. So, like right now, what the main guy would be to maybe pick on Jack Flaherty, who we'll get to in a little bit because he's coming at 21%. But after that, nobody else is even close to 20%. So it's just like, is there leverage to be had by stacking the assy White Sox? I don't know. Like, if the wind is blowing out in that game, by the way, like you said, Hitters Park, 15 to 20 mile per hour winds blowing out. So certainly you can play White Sox here. Especially if Springs is going to get like 15 to 8% ownership, there's some leverage. I just don't think I want to play.
There
White
is a
Sox
leverage
today.
point in the last game of the night that we can talk about when we get there.
All right. So moving on here, Brewers hosting the Tigers. Jack Flaherty taking on Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a capable offense. And this would probably be one of the top leverage points, like I was kind of suggesting. Not really the one I want to go after, though. Like I said, I just don't think there's a lot of leverage. Milwaukee can be good. If you want to fire up the Brew Crew, you can do that. I lean Flaherty by quite a bit. Quinn Priester against the Tigers, that doesn't look good to me. Don't really want to play Detroit that much, but I certainly don't want to play Quinn Priester. So it's mostly just Flaherty or bust here. But if you want to play Brewers as a mild leverage stack, that's okay.
Yeah, I think Flaherty's good. He's probably the best strikeout pitcher on the slate. It looks like last season was not a fluke. So I have no issue with firing him up. He's just a little pricey at 9K. I'm getting more freed in that range for whatever it's worth, even though that's not very comfortable. This game, for the most part, is kind of a stay away. I don't really want to pick on Flaherty. I don't really want to play the Tigers on the other side either too much. Quinn Priester, I guess, as a pivot from Morton is okay, but don't really see the need to do that. I would just play Morton. So this game's kind of a nothing for me beyond Flaherty.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I agree. All right, Mets and Twins in Minnesota. Tyler McGill taking on the Twins. I actually kind of like the Twins side of this. I don't want to go crazy with Twin stacks. They're not like among my top stacks of the slate or anything, but they do have some solid power. This is a good park for hitting, and McGill can be had from the left side in particular. So not super excited to play him, but I think he's okay. If you want to play him, there's nothing wrong with that. Bailey Ober is cheap. The optimal was farting him out earlier today. I don't really want to play Bailey Ober, who is massively struggling on the year against the Mets, who are stacked and have a lot of power to throw at him. Certainly, you can play the Mets just because Bailey currently in 2025 is a name-only pitcher. But it's not like, if he actually brings his A game, it's not like the Mets stand out to me as like an awesome stack to play.
Yeah, this one is really just Ober or nothing for me. He hasn't been good, but he's another one like Morton, whose ERA is a bit inflated compared to his underlying stuff. His 20% strikeout rate is way lower than his career average. His 10% walk rate is way higher than average. His SIERA is around 4.6 when his ERA is at over 7. So like a 4.6 SIERA is not good. His velocity is down a little bit. There's some cause for concern, but at 6.7, I'm willing to buy low and just roll ice on that. And pairing him with Morton and loading up on all the bats is something you can do in a tournament lineup for sure. But that's it. I don't really want to stack the Twins. McGill's not going to be owned, so what's the point? Not really dying to get to the Mets. It's just kind of a Ober or nothing, just like the last game for me with Flaherty.
Well, sir, the point is that it could be fun. But
they're bad, so it probably won't be fun.
Until they're not. All right. So I mostly agree. I just think if I'm going to do anything, I agree. Cheap Ober or fire up the Twins for fun. All right. Cardinals are hosting the Astros. This is a pitcher-friendly park. The wind is blowing out, though, I think. Not that it necessarily matter that much. I like Hunter Brown a lot here. He is 10K. I think for the spot, it's a little bit pricey. But I think for safety and ceiling, I don't really care. I think he looks awesome. He's been really good on the year. The Cardinals do strike out a little bit. They do have some power, but I mean, the park kind of suppresses that. So I like him. On the other side, Eric Fetty against the Astros. That's a big no thanks. They don't strike out. And he just has not looked good this year at all. He was okay last year, but I'm not really into okay when it comes to the pitchers. So it is Hunter Brown by a mile, and I don't really have any interest in anything else here.
Yeah, this game's probably a full fade. Like I'll have a dusting of Houston, maybe, and a little bit of Fetty in a tournament, but Hunter Brown's too expensive. Don't love the spot. This game sucks. Let's move on.
All right, Angels against the Rangers. Yusei Kikuchi taking on Texas, and I'm not interested in him. I can tell you that much. He does have a good strikeout rate, but the Rangers do have power. 172 ISO. Some strikeouts in there. I think you could play either side of that. I just don't really have a ton of interest. Tyler Mahle taking on the Angels. Angels also have quite a bit of power. This game is just a weird one because like both pitchers are very capable, yet both offenses have a shit ton of power to just, they could explode them at any point. I think you could definitely play both sides. I'm not super interested in the pitching. If I get to Rangers and Halos bats, I won't be sad about it, but they don't stand out as like massive priorities.
Yeah, this one's a pitching game for me. I think both pitchers are a little bit cheap for who they are. They're both fairly talented with good track records. Kikuchi obviously has blow-up risk, but the Rangers' offense has been really horrible so far this season. They'll have the platoon advantage against Seager, which is kind of useful. So don't hate that. I think it's fine. And then similar with Mahle on the other side, like 8K is enough or cheap enough for him. Angels have been good, but not really sure that's sustainable. Pretty decent pitcher's park here as well. So Kikuchi at 7-8 is someone I'm actually kind of prioritizing, and then Molly to a lesser extent.
Alrighty. Moving on here, we got Cubs and the Padres in San Diego. This is more of a pitcher-friendly park. Shota Imanaga taking on the Padres. Not super interested in him. Good real-life pitcher. Numbers compared to last year are ghastly. Certainly he can regain that form, but so far not so great. And just Padres don't strike out. So I don't really want to fire up the Padres against him necessarily. I think you could do that starting from the right side. Just I don't really feel the need to pick on him in this park. On the other side, Randy Vasquez against the Cubs. Definitely don't want to play him. I think the park factor makes me less interested in Chicago than I normally would be, but they've been very good, and they do have quite a bit of power, and they walk a shit ton. So they're just going to get on base and smack some homers probably. I think you can certainly stack the Cubs here. But the park is the main reason why I wouldn't be like, I have to play the Cubs tonight.
And they're expensive, which is kind of difficult, but it is an awesome matchup in terms of the pitcher. Like Vasquez has a 1.72 ERA and his Sierra is over 7. So he's like the complete opposite of Morton, like super lucky. That's going to come crashing down at some point. He's bad against lefties, so like Turner, Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong all look pretty good in this spot. I have a lot of interest in the Padres the Cubs despite the park, so don't mind that.
Yeah, like I said, I don't mind getting to him. The park always deters me a little bit when it comes to, although the Padres did drop 10 runs yesterday in the same park, so you never know. All right, Ryan Feltner will take on the Dodgers. Godspeed, my friend. That is not going to go well. Dodgers look amazing. Best stack of the night. Their salaries could honestly make them not be like uber chalk, or you could just kind of navigate that stack and get something in there that isn't very owned. But they look amazing. The only real issue is price. Can you afford the Dodgers on this slate? And then Landon Knack takes on the Rockies. Don't have any faith in Landon Knack. He's lasted no more than 2 innings in his 2 games so far this year. Don't have a whole lot of faith in the Rockies either. But in the name of yelling out shaken, not stirred tonight with Nick Martini, I don't mind a Rocky stack, but it's not like you're gaining any leverage here really, because I don't think Knack's going to be very owned.
Knack is pushing 20% on DK.
Is he
so
really?
It looks like he is. I mean, according to the projections, he is. So
that's
why I think there is leverage to be had with Colorado. Like, people want to play against the Rockies on the road. And, Knack is nothing special, but he's cheap-ish. It's the Rockies. They strike out a ton. They're not in Coors Field. So if Knack is really owned, I'm happy to stack the Rockies against him. The Dodgers are definitely the top stack on the slate by quite a distance.
Yeah.
Ohtani and Betts and Smith and Pages is cheaper. So if Teoscar Hernandez is back, that makes the lineup look better. They are expensive, but like I said, I'm prioritizing this cheap pitching like Morton and Kikuchi, guys like that. So it's pretty easy to pay up for the full stack. That's something I plan to do in single entry and multi-entry. And then, like I said, Colorado on the other side, Zach Veen is 2K flat, pretty good hitting prospect against a vulnerable bad chalk pitcher. So I see why you play Knack. I would just rather play the Rockies and play other cheap pitchers instead.
Yeah, Knack hasn't looked great so far this year. I think if anything, I would just kind of probably go away from the Knack ownership at this point. Like, it's the Rockies on the road. You certainly can play Knack. He's only 7K, or was he 772, something like that? Yeah, 7K. The Rockies do strike out. They're going to have less power than usual because they're not at Coors. So you can play
a good hitter's park though, and they're cheap.
Right, it is.
So like, you can pay up for the Dodgers on the other side. You can pay up for Fried or Flaherty and still stack them. And
don't they have the lowest implied run total of the entire slate?
Probably, but who cares?
I'm just saying.
I think they're better than they've shown. They scored no runs for 3 games in a row. Like, it's just kind of, people are happy to pick on them, and they're not as bad as they've looked so far. So it's going to burn me, I assume, but I think the Rockies are a pretty good stack.
That's totally fine. Well, I think what I'm going to do is just not really play Landon Knack. Like, I bet you the Rockies can come in, score 2 or 3 runs. Knack doesn't hit. a chalky nat like fails here, but the Rockies, are they going to come out and like nuke and like break the slate? I doubt that. I doubt that's going to happen. So it's probably where I'm at.
They're
All
cheap,
right.
so you don't need
Right.
a ton in
Yeah, you
theory.
don't need to full stack them like you've said before. So that's definitely true too. All right, that wraps up the game by game breakdown here. Let's end with our top stack and top arm of the slate.
Top stack is the Dodgers by a mile, which is not a hot take. The hot take would be my love of the Rockies on the other side. And then, it's Morton for me, just on the pitching side. Too cheap, due for regression, a good kind of regression. Good matchup against Cleveland. So don't care about the ownership. I'll be playing him, and I'll be playing the Dodgers a lot.
Yeah, I agree on the Dodgers for sure. Obviously, I'll mention one that's going to be flying a little bit under the radar, especially with the slate where the Yankees also exist. It's going to be the Athletics going into Chicago, wind blowing out, facing a pitcher that's not great. I think the Athletics look amazing. They're still not cheap though, so like you kind of just have to take a stand. Like, do you want to fire up the Athletics at low ownership, or do you want to go get the Dodgers? Like, that is a decision. I definitely note the value with Charlie Morton. I think my pitcher though is going to be Hunter Brown for two reasons. Number one, he's a lot safer than Charlie Morton. You can also still pair him with Charlie Morton if you want to play Charlie Morton, but also because he's not going to be owned. Like 10% Hunter Brown in a pitcher park against a lineup that does strike out a little bit. I think he just offers a really, really high floor and a considerable ceiling. And like in a slate where the ownership is completely split at pitcher, he's going to be a little bit overlooked despite having the second best projection. All right, that is going to do it for us. If we helped you out at all, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and come get our top pitcher picks and stacks, our finalized plays for the slate by hitting up our Patreon linked below this video. Just $5.99 a month for access to all those plays, plus our NBA plays and everything else that we cover over there. All right, thanks for watching and good luck.